Sacsayhuaman is one of the wonders of ancient South America. In fact, it is one of the most beautiful buildings ever built anywhere in the world, perched on top of a high hill. One side of the complex runs along a cliff with a breathtaking view of Cuzco. On the opposite side are three terraces supported by three imposing megalithic walls up to 6 meters high. In perfectly adjusted cyclopeans, polygonal blocks, which zigzag across the plateau of nearly 400 meters. The total volume of the stone is set at more than 6,000 cubic meters, and each block has a different shape. The walls contain the most monumental stones ever used in ancient Peru. The outermost of the three walls contains the largest stones. Some of the largest measures 3.1 meters high by 1.8 wide. Some of the blocks are 2.7 meters, 9 km thick. And some have 12 angles. The heaviest blocks weigh up to 150 tons, and there is even an 8.5 meters high block weighing about 355 tons. The Spaniards destroyed most of the interior buildings, but only managed to demolish the tallest 3 meters of zigzag walls. Where small blocks were used, the giant blocks in the lower levels are essentially unshakable. Different types of rocks have been used, including massive blocks of diorite near the exterior walls, UK limestone more than 15 kilometers for foundations, and a dark andesite, some more than 30 kilometers, for interior buildings. Although gigantic stones are assembled with an almost ridiculous degree of precision, their faces have been deliberately left rough and many bear weird impressions and scrape marks, so that they seem unfinished. There is therefore a contrast between perfectly shaped, hidden sides, which correspond together in a transparent way, and the raw product, rough exterior faces, perhaps symbolizing the mind and matter. The Incas built a wide variety of buildings, with different structures and materials, so we find it at all. The stones are often irregularly cut, but their perfect arrangement impresses. Tell yourself that the blocks have no rectilinear portion, whatever the direction considered. In other words, their three-dimensional structure is by no means regular. There is no trace of cement or seal, and the stones are so admirably worked that a hummingbird feather cannot be slipped into the interstices. How were the stones cut? How were they transported? And above all, how were they so admirably subjugated to each other? The soft stone. We find other theories more or less probable. We will cite that of the soft stone, for it has also been proposed to explain other constructions, such as the pyramids of Egypt. What if the blocks were not cut, but simply created from any kind of cement? Most of the Inca buildings were made from the stones or semi-finished stones provided in the mortar, while others had adobe walls, usually with stone foundations. But not even a knife blade can be inserted between them. But others point out that the blocks are covered with small scars, which are finer on the edges than in the center of the face, suggesting that different hammer-sized stones were used. To date, there is still no convincing explanation for the extraordinary precision of Inca constructions. Their know-how seems to have evaporated in the Andes, and the archaeological sites remain enveloped in a haze of mystery. However, one should not despair to break through their secret one day. Many researchers have commented on how the Inca stones look as if they were cut like butter to produce perfect cuts. Some see the fact that some stones enter a concave depression in the rock under the sign that they are not the same hardness during construction. The faces of many stones, especially at Sacsayhuaman, show strange circular or rectangular indentations and scrape marks that could have been made when the rock was softer. 1.0 Charles Casali said that on some very large blocks of stone there seem to be traces of medium-sized stones hidden just below the surface, which seem to have been plastered on a layer of stone. It has also been suggested that the shape of the cup, the square shape and the aforementioned trough-shaped work marks were made after the surface had been softened. It is inevitable not to remain fascinated by the astonishing structures of Sacsayhuaman. Is really a mystery that how and when these constructions were made. Because the archaeologist and the historian could not determine the time, that was fact. But recent studies date the stones for over 3,000 years, and more, around his constructions. Many theories have been woven, like the ufologist who thinks that these stones were put by strangers. The other theory was that there were living giants here who built this fortress. The whole structure is an engineering work made by the Incas on its maximum height, is considered one of the many structures that time want to stay forever. Is the silent witness to many battles and many celebrations throughout the centuries. This fortress is located 2 kilometers from the city of Cusco, at an altitude of 3,700 meters above sea level. Is surrounded by the Ozangate, Sinca and Pachadas mountains, its sacred and natural protectors. How was designed? The form that the fortress has is like a puma, and this is because one of the translations of Sacsayhuaman is puma, and also this animal is the one who watches over and takes care of everything. Some of these stones are huge, and you cannot help but wonder how these stones were carried to this site, and being able to cut the stone so perfectly that even a hair could pass through the stones. Some of Sacsayhuaman's studies mentioned it was a fortress, but it is not certain at all, since it could be a sanctuary, because of its kind of construction, and built in honor of the sun god. The time has taken to make this great and amazing construction is about 50 years, with the Tupac Upang Huayca, and the amount of men was about 20,000 men. Fortified towers. These towers were located on the top of the fortress. The names of these towers were Muayak Marca, Salak Marca e Paca Marca. The first had a circular form, the second was quadrangular, and the third had a quadrangular form. Temple. It was one of the most important places to celebrate rituals and sacrifices throughout the Inca Empire. Thousands of people gathered to present some of the most beautiful and significant ceremonies of the entire empire. This place is also where the Inti Raymi festival was celebrated, being the most important celebration, since it was to honor and worship to their main and omnipotent god, the sun. Recent studies have indicated that these constructions are lined up at many sacred places like the Temple of Coricancha, the Cathedral of Cusco, before was the Temple of Huayracaca. With this conclusion they said that the Incas are not guided only by Venus, but also many others like the Moon, the Southern Cross and the Pleiades, which conform the constellation of Taurus. In this fortress took place the Battle of Sacsayhuaman, where many natives died defending his empire, and the last bastion of all the reign. One person in particular brings out and made a name in the history of the Sacsayhuaman, who saw that his soldiers were dying in an act of bravery. He throws the Spanish into battle, giving his life not to be caught and taken prisoner. After this battle, the Spanish conquerors dismantled many towers and stones that were part of the fortress, leaving many fortresses empty.